One, two, three.
Okay, so let's begin with our character. We're gonna pull him back a little bit. Let me see. Let's go into picture-in-picture. So this is probably what you guys have. It was probably stuck in here if you haven't moved him from the origin point. The next thing you're going to want to do is just kind of pull our character out. And everything we're going to do is just going to be mainly boxes right now, right? Just because they're just supposed to be representations of the final piece. So let's go on with this guy. So if you guys want, you can go back to your singular view right there. And like I said before, let me show you guys how to get rid of this camera. Super easy. Shift C will get rid of the camera in the scene. It's not going to delete it. It's just going to hide it. All right. So if you have like 15, 20 cameras, 30 cameras, which has happened to me on, many projects, and they're just like in the way and you're like, I want to kill these cameras. Just hit Shift and C. Get rid of them. You'll be able to work in peace. And then when you need them back, just hit Shift C again. You're back in action. All right. So Shift C, gone from our lives for good. Now let us start blocking this out. So I like to do my blockouts very boxy. So I will just start boxing things out. So let's hit F. I'm gonna hit Alt and X to make things X-ray. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do something called adding a modifier to the stack. I have the modifiers that I use most often programmed to this, little table, and yours is definitely not going to look like mine, right? Because I customized mine for a lot of things that I use for my job and in my, daily modeling and things that I just make my life a little bit easier. So yours is not going to look like this at all, but that's my personal modifier list. But if you want, this is where you would go to add it if you don't see any of these, because I'm not gonna use this one just because yours isn't gonna look like that. But what yours will have is this modifier list right here, where you can drop it down, and here I'm just gonna add an edit poly modifier to my stack. All right, so this edit poly modifier is going to go right on top of this box mesh, and the reason that I do that is because it's a method of non-destructively modeling, where instead of just right-click and converting it, because there's two ways to do a lot of things in this program, and in a lot of programs, to be honest. You can either right-click and convert it to an editable poly, which collapses everything, destroys our box origin, and doesn't allow us to go back, or I could do what I just did, which is adding that modifier stack to it. So as you can see, the box is still here and I can still affect it, right? I can still effectively do things to it, but the moment that I convert it to an editable poly, well, that's gone and I don't have that ability anymore. And sometimes artists like to have that ability to kind of save themselves. If your boss says I need 15 segments in there instead of one, okay, well, let me just quickly go back, and then but you got to remember that sometimes the changes that you've made inside of the edit poly modifier might affect going back, and so you just have to be careful with how you use it. Other than that, let's throw our edit poly modifier on here. I'm gonna hit F4, and I'm just going to just kind of make a rough shape, and this is nowhere near what our final poly mesh or this piece is going to be, but I'm just kind of blocking in some of the things that I see. So now then there is I guess this rock plane right here, and I'll use a box again, just just pull it out because I know what it is. It's land, so like it's like a cliff or something, so I'm just going to use that as our thing. Let's pull this guy down all the way, and remember, Alt and X turns everything X-ray into X-ray mode for us, right? And I can tell that the perspective is kind of pushed here, so the camera is kind of like this to get that angle. So we're gonna have to do some trickery and fakery when it comes to how we position and model all this stuff. So you know, this is part of the fun, is kind of blocking everything out. We've got our box link up here already. All right, we're gonna Alt X him too, and then for the background, I'm just gonna make, you know, another box for this whole kind of area right here, and we're gonna increase the height just because it goes back a little further, and it's, you know, it's even kind of like a miniature version of that. So I'm just gonna, so what I think I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab all these guys and pull them back like, well, actually what I'm gonna do is, say Alt and X. So I'm going to use a cone to represent this little guy right here, like just a cone, or I can even use, well, let's use your cone. Alright, and this is like a, you know, 3-step operation, so I'm just going to turn it 90, like so. Right. So the idea is just to get the basic shapes out of the way, like the things that I'm seeing, just to get an understanding of some of the things, you know. And I might use some of these as the base mesh, but chances are no. Alright, and there are certain things that I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you guys how I would use like a terrain modifier to, it's a free program as well, to kind of make some of those terrains that are back there. And you know, it's another node-based editing software that's pretty cool to use. So I'll show you guys how to do that, and you know, continue from there. All right, so we've got our grass, we've got boom, 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 and then we've got this little piece right here. Box for this thing. Alright, as you guys see, I'm not like trying to kill myself with some of these details. I'm just kind of boxing it out, just so I get an idea of what I'm having to deal with. You know, so there's, you know, there's like cliffs over here. You know, it's essentially what we did in the color phase, but with, you know, with boxes. Gonna hit Alt and X, Alt X, Alt X, Alt X, and then Alt X up here. Hit F on the keyboard, maybe P, and then just start pulling these guys. So if I hit F4, you guys can see that I've got my wires back now. And you know, I'm just gonna use that to start positioning some of this stuff. And just to give me an idea, this is just a rough idea of what I've got going on in my scene. You know, nothing crazy. Alright. I'm gonna rotate these guys together. So I think what's going on is like they're kind of like catty-coney like that. This is a block out. It's supposed to be rough, you know, unfinished, unpolished. This guy's kind of turned up a little bit. No, I need this guy as well. All right. Got the vast expanse back there. Just gonna increase the width of this, just give myself some more room to work with. Right. Then maybe just some you know, some really simple approximations for some of the stuff that he's got. So let's do circle, cylinder, I mean. Do a cylinder for his shield. Let's reduce the height a little bit. I don't need any width segments, so I need a, for a shield, let's, you know, for his bow and arrow, I'm just gonna use a line tool. Actually, let me right click, hide this guy. Right click, hide the selection, right? Alright, this is cool. I'll just show you guys how to do this. So, just clicking. I make sure I'm in my front view because then, you know, and this isn't going to be the shape that I use for the final one, but you know, it'll get me partly there. Like I said, this is just blocking. So just blocking things out. Simple, nothing crazy. Alright. And then you can do maybe another cylinder for his bow. Right. I think you guys are starting to understand. Just simple geometry, nothing crazy. I'm even going to reuse this as my sheath. Yeah. Let's make it a little bigger. Alright. And maybe just a line tool for the arrows. And I can just, in my arrow selection right here, if I turn off this view and I hold down W and shift, I can shift drag multiple arrows. So I only see kind of like 3 of them, so I'll just use my points here to get these guys out. Alright, so you know, this is beautiful stuff right here. I don't know what to tell you guys. This is my Picasso. Akin to Rembrandt, my talent knows no bounds. So yeah, so this is essentially, you know, a breakdown of our scene. Alright, so we've got our arrows, we've got our bow, you know. If I was doing it, you know, for something, you know, much more, something that I was doing professionally or something like that, like I would definitely go fully into this, right? So, you know, and I'm going to do that on my own. I just kind of wanted to show you guys the process a little bit here. And, yeah, just kind of illuminate on some of the things that you can do whenever you're starting out your project to give yourself an idea of what it takes to make it happen. So let's see. Yeah. You know, this is just supposed to be super boxy, super blocky. It's not supposed to be finished. in any sort of the sense. But I would like you guys to attempt this and, you know, take it a lot further than I did here. You know, just attempt something, right? Start putting boxes and shapes and stuff in different places so that you get a feel. Start pushing and pulling things and start thinking about, well, how are they achieving this crazy eagle eye? You know, this is kind of like an eagle eye view that we're getting right now. So how are they achieving this? And think about how far this has to be for us to even get it to look like that. So little things like that, you know, those are the fun challenges that you have to solve as a 3D artist, and those are the things that are going to make you better in the long run, is figuring out what's going on back here and how they're, you know, because they're using a lot of cool atmosphere. What's the drop like? It has to be a couple thousand feet or a couple hundred feet, right? For it to look that dramatic and that drastic, and then this vast expanse that they've got right there. So definitely go in and start blocking, you know, your scene in, you know, block in this sword, block in the Zelda. It doesn't have to be the text, right? You don't have to draw the text out. You can just make it like a box, and then a smaller box and a smaller box, right? Just to give you, so you can start playing with composition and making sure everything looks the way it's supposed to look. So yeah, that is it for this class. It is 4:46, and this is the point that I would give you guys a speech. So let's stop. So let's go into this guy.